Hello, this is Roll for Crit, and today we are rolling for heights as we preview Rolling Heights, the newest game from AEG that is currently on Kickstarter. This game is all about building up your empire with little cities, buildings, houses, whether it be residential areas or industrial areas, using little cubes, and also while rolling meeples instead of dice in order to determine which resources you'll get and how you'll be able to place your new buildings.
As you can see here, you'll be building up this city landscape, which is variable and can also change depending on number of players. So in this case, this is set up for a 2-player game. At the start of your turn, or while you're waiting for everyone else to go, you're going to roll those meeple. You'll have those fun little meeple in a box. You'll start off with 2 of the brown and 2 of the dark blue meeples. You'll roll them in the box. And depending on how they land, you'll get different resources. Now, as long as they're standing up in some way, that means they're working. If they're standing up perfectly, as one would expect a meeple to stand, that means they are working hard. If they're standing up and maybe tilted sideways in some ways, that means they're working steady. They're still doing their job. The ones laying flat, though, are exhausted. This is a push your luck style of rolling, so the way it works is you'll take out all the meeple that are working. I cannot see where that last blue one, there it is. And if half or less of the meeple you rolled are exhausted, that's when your push your luck begins. So if you roll and all of them are exhausted, then you get free rerolls until you hit this point. After that, for all the meeple that you roll, if, like that, they all roll exhausted, you have gone bust, they go on strike, and you lose half of the workers you've taken out. If, for example, we rolled that, you take out the workers that are working, the meeple that are working, and then you continue to decide to push your luck. When you bust or when you decide to stop working, you will put this aside and you will use the meeples that you've taken out to perform various actions. Now, I'm going to quickly go over what each meeple is and what they provide for you. So, as I said, you start out with these 2 meeples. The brown meeple here is a carpenter. They will get you the wood bricks. You can see a bunch on the board. And then this one is a construction worker. The concrete, the dark blue bricks. Now, there are 2 other major resources. The architect gets you the glass. And then there is I don't have one here. The riveter, which gets you steel. Those are your main resources that you'll be building up the city with. By the way, if they're working steady, that means you get 1 brick. But if they're working hard, you get 2 cubes. So beyond that, we have, of course, the politician. The politician is just like the previous meeple, except they give you victory points. Then we've got the public servant. The public servant can upgrade any of your previous meeple. So pretty much if you have a meeple that's exhausted earlier, you can use the public servant to make it working steady, or a working steady into working hard. So it's a great way to get a more powerful bonus. The executive meeple gives you income. This is sort of temporary resource, not exactly cubes, that you can use to spend on things, because those cubes, in addition to building up the city, will be used for purchasing many things. We'll get to that a little bit later. The purple meeple is really unique. The purple meeple only reacts if you have a completed building that has a purple meeple effect. So in this case, there are 2 properties that, for the purple player, that involve purple meeple, but they can only activate the one that's completed, so that would be this one here. They have, depending on the building, they'll tell you. So if it's working steady, it has a different effect. If it's working hard, it'll have a unique effect. So those are going to be very tile specific. Finally, we have the city planner. If it's working steady, it lets you re-roll any of your exhausted meeple for free, so you don't have to worry about going bust. But if it's working hard, you get a tile on the end for free, helping it easier for you to build up your city.
So as you can see, there are a good variety of different meeples with different abilities, but most of the time, and especially when the game first starts out, you're going to be rolling them, and then you're going to get a handful of resources, basically these cubes in different colors, and you can do a couple of different things with them. First of all, you can spend them in order to purchase one of these tiles over here, which is a new type of building that you can then place on the board. And each one has a cost listed in cubes. Doesn't matter which color they are for these purposes. You just need to spend that number there, and then you get to take whichever one you chose and place it somewhere on the board. Now, you want to place them closer to your own buildings, and you will have to pay a cost according to what's printed in the space you place it in. If you were to place it another space further away from your buildings, it costs an extra cube for each space you move out. So they encourage you to cluster your buildings together unless there's a spot you really want. Some of these buildings also have bonuses. If you place a certain type in there, you will get some extra victory points. So there are residential areas, there are parks and more industrial types of buildings, factories, and so on that may have different effects, or different tiles may refer to them in different ways. Once you have purchased a building, at the end of your turn, you'll actually be moving these down, revealing new ones, and you'll see there are some additional tiles on top of those ones at the end down there. If there are buildings that are not purchased, these will get added to them, add a little extra incentive, and this just counts as any type of cube. You can use them in order to buy buildings on your turn, or if you save them till the end of the game, they're worth victory points. So kind of a nice bonus for you there. You also get one of these if you happen to go bust. It works as a little consolation prize. So once you have a building somewhere on the board, then you can use your cubes to build them up. Each one has spots on it, one or more, showing you what type of resource needs to go there and how many bricks it needs in order to be completed. So this only needs one wood right here. Some of them need multiple of different types, and you can see you'll start out with usually smaller buildings, but they will get gradually larger. We've got some real skyscrapers here. Over there, in fact, I mean, this one's very impressive. If we just added one more building to that, one more brick to that, it would be considered completed. You'd put your personal little piece on top to, well, you try not to miss it. But here's an example right here. You can see that shows everybody that's complete. And as a reward, not only will you get some victory points, you also get an additional meeple of a specified color. And that's how you will get more meeples to roll at the beginning of each turn. So you could end up with a bunch of those, so you're not just getting resources, but you're getting all kinds of fun stuff to play with. Now, where you want to place these is dependent on a couple of things. There will be some variable goals for all the players that are going to be made public at the beginning of the game, may reward you for putting your buildings in certain places or having them at certain heights, certain types of buildings, all kinds of things. And each player will also have their own individual goals with the same sort of idea, but these are going to be kept secret, so only you will know what you're trying to accomplish with those. The game ends once one color of these resources has entirely been placed on the board. So for instance, if all of those blues had been placed on the board, all players had bought them up and put them out, then the game would end and you'd count up everyone's victory points from everything we mentioned previously. You will be able to find out, in addition to your hidden goals, who has won.
And you'll see who's the winner, but you'll also end up with this cool little city landscape that you've all built together, which is very fun, not only just look at, but if you are a fan of kaijus, pretend to knock everything down once you clean up the game.
Yeah, or you could, I don't know, glue them together and preserve it for all time.
Is this a legacy game now?
Yeah, every time you play, you got to buy a new set of rolling heights because it's too pretty to destroy. So this is all about, there's definitely a push your luck element. That's kind of the first half, is the unique idea of rolling meeples instead of dice. If you're like me, then you will roll these a million times because for some reason I just always roll them flat. Oh, I got one standing up there, but I have a talent for just making them all exhausted. They take after me a little bit, but that's just a novel idea. And then this is pretty novel, having the buildings set up themselves. If I had to compare this to something else, though, I would say, it reminds me, perhaps for obvious reasons, of a game like Suburbia, where you have different types of buildings. You're constructing your own kind of town or residential neighborhood, whatever you want to call it.
I feel in my head it's more like the next step, because in Suburbia you're simply just placing and looking around, and plus you have your own area. You're competing against each other here.
Right.
As you can see, like the purple player decided to step over, pay extra to intercept this and be sort of a pain over there, which could be a useful move depending on your goals. The other thing I like, but it's something to keep an eye out, because I know some players may not like this because it may cause more analysis paralysis, is those goals, the secret ones, you only get to go choose one at the end. But it's not like some other games when you have to pick early on because you don't know yet. You could at the end be like, well, this is the one I'm going to go for because that's what's turning out. So it gives a bit more wiggle room.
Yeah.
That's something I enjoy, at least.
Yeah, I think that's a nice thing.
Also that I don't have to make a choice in the beginning and feel bad I made the wrong choice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely a better option there. It's interesting because it's not really area control, but you are in some respects competing for space.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it does depend on these, because like you might have a goal that you want to be near people and you want specific sections, or you might not care at all.
The ads, the public goals known as the ads, are really important too. We just showed the 3 they suggest starting off with. There is a whole variety here. You can see a huge stack. It'll include many different things for different buildings, including some that make you lose points. So if you want maybe a more aggressive game, that could be a way that you can add that in there so people are maybe a bit more cutthroat.
Yeah, yeah. So this is a pretty neat game in my estimation. It's got a lot of novel components and concepts.
If you love tactile things,
But kind of like, grounded in things that we can all understand: resource collection, building up buildings, push your luck, rolling an object, but done in a pretty unique way that I haven't really seen another game do. And if you're into this kind of city building style of competitive game, I definitely think this is something you should take a look at. And it's from AEG, and generally speaking, they put out a good product. So
you can check out the Kickstarter right now. Look in the link down below and see if they've added anything else. You can let us know what your thoughts on this. Do you like the idea of building a landscape, or do you like the idea of playing this just so you can destroy the board afterwards?
Yeah, or glue the pieces together and preserve it for all time. Yeah, I don't know I think we probably mentioned briefly that this is all modular. There's different sides of the board, and so that'll change.
You can see the tiles, huge piles. So really, you don't, depending on what comes up and what the goals, it's one that I think can not tire itself out too quickly.
Yeah, let us know if you're planning on backing Rolling Heights in the comments below, or check it out for yourself at that link. Thanks for watching. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this was a Roll for Crit Kickstarter preview. Thanks for watching. While you're here, why don't you like the video, subscribe to our channel for more content, or you can check us out on Patreon, where if you support us, there are a lot of cool goodies like posting in our Discord channel. We've also got a podcast you can listen to. We have weekly guests, lots of board game discussion. Check that out as well.